Alright, so this is, in 6.1, they kind of give you, they're trying to teach you a skill that you're going to have to use later in the chapter. It's how to build up to a common denominator. So these exercises that are in this section that I want you guys to be able to do, they start with the idea that, okay, let's say you've hypothetically already got the common denominator. So in this case, you figure out that the common denominator is this guy right here. So how do you go from what you start with, so that's this right here, okay, ooh, zoom in, alright, say this is what you start with, and then you determine that the common denominator has to be this. How do you figure out what the numerator is? Okay, and the key is what I have written in red. You got to figure out, okay, what do I have to multiply by to get to that bigger thing, that larger denominator, larger in terms of exponents on the variables, larger in terms of literally a bigger number in front, bigger coefficient is what we call that. So here, to go from 5 to 15, you basically take each thing individually. You go from 5 to 15, you got to do times 3. To go 5 to 15, you got to do times 3. I'll just write the 3 because that multiplication symbol looks like, oh goodness, looks like a looks like a variable x, and that's not what I'm going for. So times 3, right here, times 3. All right. So to get to that new numerator, okay. In fact, let me actually not even. Let me do it this way. Let me pause and change stuff. All right. I was going to try to edit this equation here, this field, but I realized as soon as I tried to do it, I couldn't do that. So never mind. I'll go back to what I was going to do. So the whole idea with these exercises is figure out what goes in the question mark. So I'll write it like this, I guess. Okay, so to go from 5 to 15, we multiply by 3, so we got to go 4 times 3, so we got 12. Okay, to go from x squared to x cubed, we multiply by x. Okay, x squared times x gives us x cubed, and so we better do multiply the numerator by x. So I basically have to throw an x here. And last but not least, we have the y. Let's see if I can draw this in a way that's not super confusing. The y, to go from y to y cubed, we have to multiply by y squared. So we got to put the y squared up top. Okay, so there you go. We've built the denominator, we figured out what fills in the blank, what fills in the question mark. Okay, now for harder problems, these are called monomial. This is a monomial on the bottom. Monomial, this first example, is the easiest type you're going to run into in the exercises. Here this is a polynomial, of course, multiple terms. Okay, 5x and 20, x and 4. And so what you have to do here first is you have to factor the bottom to figure out what you have to multiply by. So here it's fairly straightforward. You can figure it out at least easier than the rest of them. You can figure out, oh, it's x squared times x makes x cubed. Well, what do you multiply x by x plus 4 by to get 5x plus, 20? All right, well, you have to factor this first. And the point of these problems isn't the factoring, so I'm not going to show a bunch of work here. I'm just going to factor. This one's not that bad. This is 5 times the quantity x plus 4. All right, that's what this is here. So I'll just put the factored form beneath. And then it tells me, well, wait a second, I better take this and multiply by 5. Okay, so this is 3x times 5. Got to, do the same. If we're going to change a fraction by multiplying, we have to do to the top and the bottom. So to do the top and the bottom, this becomes 15x over the 5x plus 20. Well, actually, you will, whatever. You can leave it as 5x plus 20, or you can leave it as factored. Whatever. Resist or urge to cancel the 15 and the 5, because that literally would undo what you just did. And so this is your answer. What goes in the blank here? Apparently it's 15x. Okay, so this is all figure out what goes in the question mark. Okay, and then let's do this one. And the only reason why this one's any harder is because the factoring part is potentially more challenging. That being said, I don't want to spend any time on it because that's literally what we just spent the last week trying to become experts at. So if you need help with that, I can help you in class, or you can watch video or whatever. I guess I didn't make that many videos for it, or any videos, but anyway, here you go. So we factor this to figure out how we have to build up to the common denominator. And so this works out to be, as one might guess, well, there's an x plus 5. Alright, and I didn't even think about it. I know that I better have an x plus 5 in here, otherwise it's a bad problem. And then an x plus 2. Okay? This, if you AC method that sucker, or whatever technique you've learned for doing a trinomial like that, that's what you get. And so definitely to go from the original denominator here, the x plus 5, we got to multiply by the x plus 2. Okay? So you have to do times x plus 2. So we do x minus 3 okay, so this equals x minus 3, and then we multiply the top and bottom by x plus 2, so it's x plus 2. Alright, I'll just leave the denominator the same. And the reason why we do that is, I think the answer's in the back of the, or the reason why I just did that now and left it in here like this is that's what the answers in the back of the book look like, if I recall correctly. Not that it's super important, but it's not a bad idea to practice multiplication. So this guy, if we multiply this out, is x squared, okay, minus the 3x plus the 2x, so that's going to be a minus an x, and a negative 3 times 2 is a minus a 6. Okay, and we x squared plus 7x. Man, my handwriting is horrible. I apologize. Plus 10. Hopefully it's legible. Okay, so there you go. That's what you're going to be expected to do tomorrow in class.